Welcome, everyone. Dr. Thor here, bringing you the best and the only honest opinion you're going to get on the net, period. So I hope everyone is joining Patreon for only $6 a month to support this organization and get a lot of free stuff and to get the things that can't be said, as well as supporting our all access on our website. And those who want to find great products that work, that have been proven to work for 50 years, should go to the top of the channel page here and click over and look at the website. Make sure that you subscribe and make sure that you like here. Of course, real information is always suppressed. Only garbage is being put out by the physical reviewers that run into YouTube. The AI stuff is all the con people.
Oh, you don't know what you're talking about, yeah.
I happen to know everything I talk about. So, and it's verified by third parties, fourth parties, fifth, sixth. None of this. It's just whether you're in on it in terms of knowing what's going on in your own life. So we get to now getting back to Dillman. So once he couldn't prove this of hitting people at a distance and knocking them down, he came up with a fabrication. Instead of saying, well, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. What works is the touching stuff. No, he had to go into some bullshit explanation talking about, oh, he wasn't a believer. Well, does somebody you're fighting have to believe that you are better than them so they lose? I mean, this kind of babbling boob, diarrhea mouth is really sad. But Dillman, like most martial artists, as I said, are not very smart people. They're not educated. They're into physicality. They're not studying. They don't know much, which goes. So, and Dillman, of course, fits into this as well. Then he talks about your tongue being in a particular. Well, these are all short circuiting the energy going through you. But it makes absolutely no sense. He couldn't prove this with anybody. Nobody felt it, and it's as simple as that. So if you're going to say you can knock people down, you have to do it to any person, any place, anywhere. And of course, that's not the case. But he does seem to be, when he can direct the energy into meridians, does seem like this is real. But I would have to see that personally. And certainly the movement and the constriction of chi energies and everything else, which is basically flow of energies through your body. These are the scalar energies, the non-electromagnetic energies that basically chi is in your body. Of course, your brain has electromagnetic energy. You kind of like a little battery, but that's only part of the battery. All the other stuff there is part of the process as well, which people don't seem to get. But certainly is interesting, and there's been a guy called Savali. Now, Savali is a famous guy who taught the apparently Green Berets and so forth how to take hits. And he's not the only one. Well, you can actually get a metal pole, and I'm not sure how strong it is. I'm sure it's not a steel one, but where he actually struck these people in the back, and the pole bent. And this was done by Savali. This was done with Special Forces troops on the base, and there is film of this. And he was another one who could project energy like this, etc. But it doesn't work all the time. But you can get chi to do that. Now, he's not the only one that does that. Now, the other thing is, taking a 2x4, a long one, and hitting you in the back with it as well, and it will not hurt you. Now, how do you do this? Well, the first thing you would think of doing if somebody's going to strike you with something, which of course is, I guess you think it's intuitive, but if you got a dumb brain, it's intuitive, is what do? Well, you tense yourself. You make your muscles hard because you're going to make yourself harder than the item. Well, of course, that is backward and doesn't work. You do the opposite. You relax yourself. You become the willow in the wind, which cannot be broken. So you relax yourself, the 2x4 hits you, and it breaks. Now, this has been demonstrated many, many times. Apparently, McDojo and the Randy scum that he likes to associate with haven't seen even the basics. So this is another dumb bunker out there that I believe is dangerous and may even be a plant, because most of these people are plants, so they discredit anything of high value, just like the unamazing Randy was. This guy was hooked up to all sorts of nefarious people, including himself. So the point is that you can actually do that, and a lot of these people, again, they get God complexes, particularly chi people. One of a famous chi person who I took a seminar with who taught you a type of Qi Kung that was fast to actually generate energy within you, which is quite fascinating. So you actually do Qigong instead of those slow movements, you do it fast and you brought huge amounts of energy into you. Very interesting. And it certainly did work, and it also stops you from having hunger. And I did this personally, and it does work. But you have to do it fast and everything else, and it's very interesting. But this guy who could demonstrate some chi powers, I had him work on a sick person, and he does something in a couple of seconds, and then later said, "Are you healed?" Well, of course you're not healed. These are people with serious illnesses. It's nonsense. But see, they have this ego where they think they're some sort of some sort of god because they've been able to do this. Now, another famous chi guy, I believe he was a Korean who I was at an expo with. Came over to my booth, and I had out were psychic wheels. Now, these are wheels you turn with your psychic energies. Again, everybody can do this. So something is happening. This isn't blowing stuff. This isn't moving things in some corrupt way. If you're doing that, you're just fooling yourself. But you're actually moving a psychic wheel with your mind. A famous one of these is the Eagly wheel, where things like light up as you move it, and you can move it. But if you're blowing on it, well, that's not the point here. I mean, if you're going to fake it, let's just all do it in special effects. So it doesn't make any sense. So I had my radionic machines out there, which I was selling at the time. And at that time, we had what were called psychic helmets that amplify. And of course, they take energy right out of the third eye and other things. So he put on one of my helmets, and from 6 feet away he pointed at the wheel and was able to turn it. Not super fast, but it was turning. So the point is, this was a chi master who I'd been to, and you can definitely feel the energy. These people will move through your body. It's kind of like getting a controlled electric shock that goes through your body. Not super things that disables you, but you can feel kind of this flow of energy through your body. This is real, and everybody will feel it if done. Now, as I said, the problem with this is that these people tend to be very greedy, and they want hundreds of dollars for a treatment, and you need many of them. So this is one of the problems with them to verify if they're... And again, the movement of chi feels great, just like acupuncture, but it takes many, many treatments to get any kind of results from it, depending on what your condition is. Some people get quick results. They don't have things that are that serious, so it's something. But I highly recommend acupuncture if you can find a good one, or in general to try this if you have some sort of problem, which is... that you can't, of course, all problems you can't get any results from because your doctor doesn't heal, your doctor gives you pills. So the whole idea, this is a problem. And again, I witnessed this stuff personally, felt it personally, went to many of these people, and as I said, they are very greedy, and they want a lot of money like everybody does. And that's one of the problems with alternative practitioners in general. Chiropractors, etc., like to send you out of their office with hundreds of dollars of vitamins. It's all a con game. Does chiropractic energy work? Well, I've had many chiropractic treatments as well, and I found that they did absolutely nothing for me. But they certainly can help with certain situations. They certainly are not a panacea. And again, what works for me may not work for you, and vice versa. So you may get excellent results from it. Certainly there's an awful lot of chiropractors, so people are using it. The theory behind chiropractor does make sense to have this aligned flow of energy, which is, again, on chi based to a certain degree. And there's certainly, and of course, you don't have any other places to go to. Doctors don't help you that much. So what you get going is you tend to go to chiropractors. But as I said, I haven't got any good results from chiropractors, but it doesn't mean it doesn't work. As I haven't got any great long-term results from acupuncture. But you certainly feel great after it. The energy is flowing. It goes through it. You feel great. And it is helping your body. But the problem is if you have anything acute or serious, you're not going to get results. And you're going to have to go over and over again. If you're dropping 100 to 150 each time you go twice a week, well, that's $300 at 150. So you're looking at $300 a week. Times for $1,200. Where does that income come from? I wonder how anybody's going to make it with these super high costs now. And chiropractors, again, and even some of the acupuncturists like to sell you herbs and other things. And this is another problem. What do they know about that? And chiropractors, supplements are supplements, and I don't think they know much of anything. And everybody wants to give you tablets or capsules. This doesn't work. It's garbage. So they don't know about that, and they're not very interested in finding out. From what I can tell, it's a money-making business, and it's a real problem there because nobody gives a damn about anybody. They just want to make money. So, keeping that in mind, we have to understand the process. So when you're talking about, is there hitting somebody at a distance? Is this possible, and can it be done? Yes, it can. And again, I've seen this demonstrated from some of these chi masters. Now, you can feel the energy, but it really doesn't knock you type down. So it depends on the flow of energy and everything else. So these are all problems. It's not really the way you'd want to fight anyway. Now, are there trigger points in your body that actually weaken you and cause there certainly is. And certainly what George does here, Dillman, certainly is possible if you're hitting those things. And certainly I would love to see this in person and experience it myself. From what I can see, it appears that some of these results that he's demonstrated, not the stuff with all of his students and stuff, throwing people around, all this stuff that is all nonsense. But going to people and triggering certain points and blocking their meridians is going to knock somebody down. Now, can you do this in a fight situation? Well, it's going to be very, very difficult to do things like that, to get up to somebody and be able to do that. They're not going to stand there and let you put your hands on them and project. So you're going to have to move quick and fast and to see if that would work in a fight. Now, the bottom line is that it's going to be extremely difficult. Now, but it's very interesting. I've watched his films over and over again, Dillman, and it certainly seems that these people are just turned into a wet noodle and just flop to the floor. It seems to me that would be difficult for the average person even to imitate. But who knows? Most of these things by these sensei types are all fake, and they're doing it with their students. This is not appropriate. Just like it's inappropriate to give a prize away that you decide to award through your organization. It has to be done through a third party. You're prejudiced. So people like the Unamazing Randy has no business testing people himself. There has to be an independent organization to test someone and verify results. He's got $1 million on the line. Do you think he's ever going to give that away other than the publicity for it? Well, if you think that, I have a bridge to sell you. So, these are the type of things that happen that people have to fully understand is the con that is out there. So moving into these areas, and as I said, if you're one of the naysayers who are not open-minded and think that you're nothing more than a meat puppet, then there is a serious problem involved in your consciousness. So there's certainly amazing things that go on, and there's certainly amazing things that can be achieved through human consciousness and energies alone. So to think that this can't happen is just stupid. To be tricked is stupid as well. And apparently professional magicians of the stage type, because they can trick people, they think everybody's a con. Now, magic tricks have been going on for hundreds, if not thousands of years, and these are simple ways of tricking your vision, your sight, and everything else, so that you don't see things happening. And there's also elaborate props and other things that are rigged to do certain things that when you do this in front of somebody, they're amazed by it. And it can be as simple as just moving quickly where the eye doesn't catch it, swapping something out, throwing something over somebody's head. And by doing that, it disappears. How did you disappear that? Well, you move fast and you throw it right, and you stand close to them, you throw it right over their head, they don't see it. One of the most classic things and the most silliest things. That does not mean that PK and other things that have been demonstrated that I do myself and many other people have is not possible. And to not look into these things and depend on primitive, stupid science, and particularly the failure of Dumbademia, who has not found a single cure, who has not found a single type of energy that can be generated without polluting the planet and destroying everything, are pumping stuff out of the ground like a moron should not be a group of people that we trust. And now they want to move into philosophy and start telling you what is right. The arrogance of this community is really shocking considering they've done nothing. Oh, you've explained what? Where's the physical proof of it? And that's the reality of it. The rest of it is a big fantasy that they want to tell you they know something when they know nothing. Let's see some results from this, not some numbers on a board where they want to explain everything in mathematics, which they created themselves to justify their crap. So we all have to understand that as a bigger picture of what's going on. So when you get these naysayers out there, and because there's a lot of people who are frauds out there, who then point to the fraud saying, well, that's all that's out there. And then, of course, as I said, you've got the egotistical and chi masters that want to do something like set fires, as I've mentioned, which is not something you can do with chi, and then stage it doing magic tricks. So these are all the things that are a problem within that, because they want to be more than they are, because they want to do something very dramatic. But as I said, you can go out there and by using simple one-dimensional patterns, you can weaken and strengthen the human energy field, which is quite shocking. So if you think you can't then go into the human energy field by projecting your own energy into it, quote, chi, well, you're pretty foolish. This is again been proven time and time again and could be proven anytime there's enough money to do it. Now, the problem is you have to get very skilled people to test people. You have to get the right people. And of course, you don't turn a serious person over to some Hollywood idiot who's nothing more than a trickster who does magic tricks, and you take a serious person and let them decide what is there or not. This is the height of bogusness and insulting to any serious practitioner. And of course, that's what's been going on for years. And the point is, if anybody does qualify, they'll never give them the money, which is the case in the past. And secondarily, there's no reason for them to do it. They're not going to lose $1 million to give people this. So it's a complete and total fraud, but it sounds good. And of course, people like to repeat that. Oh, you say you got power, well, go and get your money. Get your money from that crook, that sexual deviant who picks up children in libraries, who was taped on the phone, trying to get deviant sex, meeting people randomly. These are all the things that went on. So this is Randy, and he has been caught in plain and simple lies. Randy stated that Uri Geller's photographer never has pictures of him doing anything, and the bottom line is that we do, and these have been released recently, showing all the things that Uri Geller basically could do that James Randi claimed he couldn't. This was on film, and of course, he said the photographer never did it. Now, the people involved with this went to the photographer. They got an affidavit from him, a notarized affidavit that he did film Geller doing these things, etc. So this is an out-and-out lie, and he contrives things that are ridiculous. He also said that people were getting messages from keyholes that were in offices. I mean, this is the biggest bunch of garbage in the world. The fact is that there are tricky things, manipulative things that can be done. And of course, there are people that spend their entire life and career inventing little magic tricks to trick you. And they're quite fascinating that they can do these types of things to figure out exactly to do things that are amazing. And it is amazing. And when you see magicians on stage, etc., with these elaborate props and all the things they're doing, it does appear to be amazing and real, when none of it is really amazing and none of it's real. These are props. These are things you can't see. And of course, they have you in special positions so you can't see well. And what's happening is happening, quote, off stage to a large degree, understage, etc. So anybody that studies magic, which I have, there are, and you can go to any place, go to eBay and look at the magic tricks there, and you'll see some amazing things that can be done there, and all of these things work, and there are people that do this. Magic is a big business. People love it. So you have to understand that. So, but again, to say because somebody can do a magic trick or a card trick that they have something past that is, or that everything is fraudulent because one thing is fraudulent, is the epitome of really, are you an idiot? because somebody can copy something, because you can trick somebody and bend a spoon when they're not looking. I saw the Unamazing Randy do this with Barbara Walters with a key. And he was talking to excuse me, he was talking to her, talking how bogus everything was. She put the key on the table. He picked up the key with his right hand, and while he was talking, he put it on the chair that he was sitting in, on what is that? Where your arm rests. Put it on the chair armrest, and he bent the key with his hand. All you have to do is know what they're doing. He then, in front of Barbara Walters, said, "Look, see, I bent it." And of course, you just got to watch them and know what they're doing, meaning you have to study magic. And I've studied a lot of magic, and stage magic is fun. And I think all people should learn magic, particularly people involved in the alternative areas, that you can amaze people. Why not amaze them with goofy little tricks? They're too stupid for anything anyway. So why shouldn't they? They want to believe all sorts of things and worship all the scum of the earth. Well, who cares if you trick them? The point is that to think that you can't bend a spoon with your mind is pretty much stupid. A whole bunch of people have done this, from General Stubblebine, who was able to do it himself, to bend spoons and got many of his officers to do it, to people like the author of Jurassic Park and the what was the name of that? Emergency, or whatever the TV series was for many, many years. I'm trying to remember his name. Who was a Harvard doctor, went to spoon bending events and was able to do it himself. So it's a proof of what's going on in general. I mean, it's really sad how ignorant people are and how they're so quick to believe either side. They either believe the tricksters or they believe the dumb bunkers who are dumb. You got to remember that these dumb bunkers are made up of convicted felons. Brian Dunning. We have Penn and Teller, which are nothing more than uneducated boobs. He was a high school Latin teacher. Yeah, that's going to teach you a lot. All right. And of course, Penn Jillette, who never graduated high school, who basically was a bum running around, and whose father was a jailer. And he has his own little dungeon he likes to show people for his sexual perversions. We go on and on with this kind of low-level scum that all of these, quote, dumb bunkers are. The people in the debunking area, a convicted felon, Brian Denning. He was a criminal on the internet. These are the kind of people. And he goes and talks at schools. Hey, people, let's bring the criminal in. Well, isn't that pretty typical of Dumbadamia and his kind of corrupt organization? So these are all the things that we have to be very, very cognizant and understand what's going on. On the other hand, we're not going to let people fool us. If somebody's going to be some sort of magician and going to do things and try and trick us, which has been done to some scientists to discredit the entire field, well, we have to be careful of that. And everybody has to be carefully videotaped. We have to watch those things, and they have to be screened. Yeah. You know, a lot of these particular college professor types are not too bright either, and they don't go into these things looking for people that are going to trick them. They want to be open and fair, and of course, not if you've got an Unamazing Randy out there trying to trick you. So instead of looking at these things properly, they become very gullible because they want this to be real. And a lot of people are like that. They tend to be very gullible. They believe ads. I see this from people all the time. Well, this pill says it's going to do that. Yeah, it says that. What does that mean? It speaks highly of it on the box. What does that mean? So things have to be tested. People have to try things. And there are problems with many things, including the fact of that, does it work for me and not for you? And a lot of these very high-level experiences and things like psychic power, etc., are very dependent upon the individual. And the whole idea is to bring this more up to a science. But anyone who doesn't believe in intuition and psychic powers is pretty much a stooge. They've been testing this stuff for 150 years and unequivocally have proved all this stuff. One of the problems we have is that parapsychology is really a field full of idiots who have really serious problems, and they're a bunch of stupid old men right now. And I don't think there's anybody following up on that. And of course, we have people writing books out there that don't even consult people in the field and everything else. They can press information from many different areas. And know what? They're not talking to any experts, and they're not even seeking people that are experts. So these are all the real problems out there. But the bottom line is certainly qi is real and very powerful, and you can feel it go through your body. You can see it demonstrated to a large degree. Now, again, the problem with qi in terms of using it for many things is it powerful enough? I haven't seen it heal anybody. So the whole idea is there's the problem again, as I've mentioned. How effective is it in martial arts and other things? Well, these are all things that are in great question that we have to see a part of it. Generally, fighting is fighting, and you've got two classes of very low-level people that are involved in martial arts. As I said, a lot of them want to be this mystical warrior like a bad kung fu movie. Most martial artists are either cowards or bullies, and they like to intimidate you and have this power over you. Now, it's good that everybody learns martial arts because you're probably going to use this in your life, or not probably, you will. And of course, it does give you a certain amount of confidence. But, there's a big difference between learning martial arts and being in a real fight, has always been the question with Bruce Lee. So the whole idea is that obviously Bruce Lee was a great martial artist, but could he really hold his own in a serious battle against another opponent, which he didn't really want to do? And I certainly understand it doesn't really benefit him. So we have to keep this in mind. So there tends to be a lot of bullies and a lot of problems with people that are out there, particularly in the martial arts reality. They all think they're special when they're not. And they want to be this mystical type warrior, which takes a lot more practice and a lot more consciousness and evolution than a lot of these martial artists who, as I've mentioned at the beginning of this, a lot of these people are unfit with big fat bellies and everything else. This shows me a person who is not at a high level. And of course, other people are very physically fit. And then you have Bruce Lee, who went out and supposedly had his sweat glands removed and everything else, so he'd look more cool on film. And of course, Bruce Lee started out as an actor as well. So I don't want to put him down at all. I mean, this is an amazing person who was able to do, was that 1-inch punch, which is a chi projection, where he projected the chi in the body. And that's another thing showing how important touching is. I don't think he ever tried to do something without touching. And these are all part of the reality that's going on that we have to see. But like everything else, you have to be very careful of the process going on and who is feeding you this. And you're not there to please your instructor. Your instructor there, if they want to demonstrate something, should be demonstrated to you. And I've had these same type of energy things done by particularly yogis and other ones that say they can open your chakras and other things and are really unable to do it. So this is one of the things that happens. So these dramatic Hollywood type things, while you may think it's important, it really isn't. So what if that person can do it? Doesn't mean you can do it, and so what? So you open your chakras and you feel a little better, you press on something and you feel strong or weak. What does that mean? This is comic book reality. It's the long-term really effects of certain things. So all of this stuff, and when you get into extreme abilities, there's very few people that can prove anything, and all of it's a lot of garbage, like remote viewing is, where people like McGonagall failed horribly on film, couldn't even find his butt in the dark of the flashlight, as I like to say, because of the fact that so when he was really tested, he failed. And I've seen him tested many times, and he really isn't very sharp. And I don't think any of these government remote viewers are. After all, they're just dumb military people. And so why should we, like Ed Dames, who wants to tell you the aliens are coming every year. Same story. We're going to take it over by aliens. So the whole idea is this is the kind of goofballs, and I find it hard to believe that they aren't told that. I have a feeling that Ed Dames was contacted by higher ups and said, stop your nonsense, or if you're going to do it, make yourself as uncredible as possible, meaning the fact that let's talk about aliens, which nobody believes in. So this is a real issue, and even his ex-wife talked about him always talking about aliens. I tend to think this is the company line. A company line who tells him what to do, etc. Now, it's really hard to prove any of this stuff on levels without some serious research, and serious research requires serious money. You're going to have to hire professionals who know what they're doing. You're going to have to spend months or even years researching things over and over again. This is not cheap. It's not necessarily super expensive. Because after all, the so-called psychic program the CIA did for 20 years apparently only added up to about $20 million, which, what is that, one handgun today for the military? So the whole idea is you're talking about things that are not expensive and certainly should be looked into for their low cost and possible extreme value of these low cost techniques. So when we get into all these things and what's going on out there, it's always buyer beware in a general rule. Let people prove to you. But what does proof mean to you? If they're going to make outrageous claims like that, then they're going to have to prove it. And this should be demonstrated to you personally, especially these martial arts people that want to say they can do these things. Now, when you get into psychic powers and stuff, well, this becomes very variant. But people like there has been several people out there who have been able to do many things, cure people, remove items from your body, put it in your hand. Oh, all those psychic surgeons are all frauds. This is complete nonsense, and it has been proven to the opposite with people that they are able to cure people and do all sorts of surgeries without blood and everything else. Now, this was witnessed by actual doctors who went and saw these people do things. Now, this was many years ago, and unfortunately, there wasn't very good photography back then. You got to remember, cameras now are fantastic. They cost you nothing, but this wasn't the case in the past. Film equipment was very expensive. But again, if you're going to take a person who knows nothing about filming and have them film something like these researchers, we have another problem. So we get into the problems of how bad the researchers are, not the people that they are researching or testing, because they're not doing it right. So these are all the problems, and it's not all that complicated, but you're not going to get the proper ways of doing things. But for 150 years, they've been testing psychic abilities and so many other things in this area, particularly spiritualism and other things. And there's been many, many people that have been proven to be very powerful. There's also many people that have been proven to be charlatans. So all of this stuff is part of the world out there, part of the nonsense that's taught to you by every single person, by your idiot teachers, your stupid ministers, your bogus dumbademia systems. They are the problem here. They're not getting to the core of things that could change this reality. They're the enemy. Don't go and condemn an entire field because there's some frauds out there, which pretty much is in everything. So, hope this has been very informative. Until next time.